Hi. This story is about the first time I went hunting inland, and I was about 11 or 12 years old, and I was really excited because it was my first time going, and I was able to drive my own snow machine and special parts of it, which was kind of fun for me, but at the same time terrifying. Um, but to start the story, I just remember us getting ready. We were preparing to go, and my mom gave us all $50 to go and pick out our favorite types of candies. And I was thinking to myself, oh, I'll just save like $40 for when I get back, and me and my friends will go and we'll eat somewhere. So I only bought some Pringles and maybe I think some M&Ms before we left. And it's really special when you go on these trips because you usually drive in the back of the boat all the way um, going towards um, the point where we launched our boat at. So we all got to the point and we jumped in the boat and we launched. And the trip to the cabin takes around 11 to 12 hours normally. And we launched at about 5 p.m. And we were about 7 hours in. We're all cold, extremely tired. And I think there was only me and my mother's ex-husband awake. And it was the most beautiful sight I'd ever seen. We had a bunch of crepuscular clouds shining through, which was the first time I'd seen them inland. And crepuscular clouds are when the rays shine the um, through the clouds, and they give it that really special looking thing that you only see in like paintings and stuff. Um, that was really gorgeous, and um, sorry, the birds are going crazy right now. But anyways, we got to a place called Stuck Bay where you have to drag your boat through because the water is so shallow that you'd get caught or you'd get stuck almost instantly if you tried to use your motor. Um, so we got there and we got stuck like 3 or 4 times. We were stuck in that bay for about 2 hours. And we had another 3 hours in front of us to go towards the cabin. And we were dragged it through, and then we got to the cabin, and we were all so exhausted and wet that um, we barely did anything besides collapse into the cabin. I don't think we even turned on the generator that night. But anyways, the next day we all woke up. Me and my brother, we had to go and get water for us in like a 55-gallon trash can, and we brought it back to the cabin, and we started fishing right off into the water. And fishing there is really scary because it's colder by the water, and my brother and all the guys on the trip kept telling me about the little monsters and stuff that would come, and I have an overactive imagination, so I just imagined them coming towards uh, me, just these giant river monsters, like long dragons, like Chinese dragons, or just eels and stuff like that. Were always pretty fascinating to me, so um, I couldn't help it. But anyways, we caught a lot of fish that first day, and let's see, if I remember correctly, we actually turned on the generator that night, and we all watched a whole bunch of old movies. There was old recorded tapes of like when Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant, which was crazy to me. I had like never seen that, and that was like one of the biggest, coolest things I'd ever seen in my life. And we every night we would fall asleep in our tutu skins, and those are super soft if they're tanned right. So it was just like sleeping on a cloud. But anyways, um, that night I was woken up at about 2 or 3 a.m. by one of the guys we brought on our trip. I forgot his name. He was one of my mom's friends, but he woke me up, just me, to go outside because he saw some tutu um, about 500 yards away. So he made me grab my little 22, and I thought it was going to be my first tutu, and I didn't know any better that 22s couldn't stop anything. but he had his 308, and my 22 had a scope on it for some reason. Like, there's no reason for a 22 to have a scope, but it had one. And I was looking through the scope, and I kept asking him, "Can I shoot it? Can I shoot it?" And he said, "It's just gonna bounce off at this distance." Well, we got pretty close. We got to maybe about 100 yards away. Yeah, just about 100 yards away, and I was like, "Let me shoot it. Let me shoot it." And he said, "No, no. You're gonna have to wait until there's another one coming by, and you can use the bigger gun." But I was looking through the scope, and I saw him shoot, and I heard him shoot, and it like there was a delay, and then you just saw the back of the caribou's neck explode, and that was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen. It was really gruesome. It was like a John Woo movie up in there, but we went over, and it was still kicking around, and he grabs his knife, and he stabs it into the back of the caribou, the tutu's head, and he rotates it around a bunch to kill it as like quickly as possible. And then we harvested it right there and put it on the four-wheeler and drove back to the cabin. And everybody woke up next day pretty happy because we had a bunch of tutu cooked that day. But that was the same day that I cut my hand too. We were all washing our ulus and stuff, and I was washing mine with my sister's hand a little bit too close to me, and she accidentally was washing it, and she cut open like my thumb quite a bit, and I got a lot of flack for that because you're not supposed to let that happen, especially up inland. Yeah, my mom's ex-husband said, if that gets infected, you're gonna die out here. You can't do that. You have to be more careful. And he that freaked me out a lot. So I made sure to clean it as best as I can and wrap it as best as I could. But we had to go and get more water, me and my brother, which is kind of hard because we were both kind of tiny at the time. But we pulled it off. You had to do is you had to rock the barrel all the way forward and backwards, like just rotate it on its side for maybe 50 yards. So that was tiring, but it was great. And this whole time, we're all learning how to ride four-wheelers just around the cabin and stuff. And they're also taking us on these boat rides to these inlets where there's a lot of fish, and we just go fishing like crazy. There's mosquitoes everywhere. So we actually did that for day 3, and we caught like maybe 60 or 70 fish just in that one day. And I remember there was this one fish, it was like the adversary of us all. Like we would all catch it and it would break the line, and I got it really close on when I caught it. Like I was like the fourth person to catch it, and as I was reeling it closer, I saw 3 distinct I saw the 3 hooks. Like it had one in its top fin, one in its side, and one in its gill. And he broke off all of our lines, and then I saw mine was in his mouth, and I was excited because I thought I was going to finally be able to catch him, but the line snapped on me too, and I swear that fish is still out there somewhere. But it was just one of the things. Anyways, we kept at this for quite some time. We'd go out and me and my brother, we would wait for the birds to fly by, like some ducks and some other types of stuff that we would eat, and we would just sit out there for hours when we were being bad, and we would just catch those guys. And we caught a few of them, not too many though. I want to say like 5 or 6 for the whole time. But anyways, there was low water line, so after about a week or two, we weren't able to go back in our boat, and we were running out of store-bought food. So what we did was called search and rescue, and they came and got a few of us with a chopper. Some of us had to stay behind. It was only, I think, me and my sister and somebody else I couldn't remember, but it was my first helicopter ride, and it was crazy because all the rivers and lakes and stuff, I just kept imagining all the giant monsters inside of them. Earlier in the trip on the way in, when everyone else was asleep, when I was with my mom's ex-husband, he told me about this giant lake that was 30 miles wide and 30 miles deep, and it was filled with the biggest fish on the planet, and that he saw a fish bigger than a whale jump over a boat in there, and that's why nobody goes to it. But anyways, I just kept imagining all the lakes and stuff had their secret giant monsters. As we were flying over, and I was getting really worried, like what if one reaches up and grabs us? And I was terrifying. I think I almost cried, and my sister told me just to stop looking out the window because she knew how much of a sourpuss I was being. Um, Anyways, we got back and talked to my mom over the radio because she stayed behind, and she said that they ran out of bread, but they're fine because they have all the meat that we caught, and they kept at it for a couple of I think maybe 5 more days, and they got stuck in Stuck Bay for about 2 days straight, which is kind of a bummer, just sleeping in a boat for 2 days. Um, but they made it back, and that's the end of my story of the first time I went inland.